इच्छन्ति देवाः शृण्वन्तं न स्वप्नाय स्पृहयन्ति.
So I want to thank everyone for staying on. This is a little lighter than the more devotional, deeper topics that you all dealt with. The key point I wanted to make is that everything was not nice and friendly in the older times, and so like when Pungundranar spoke about the Dravidian, the period of Pari, and what happened during that time, and how the key terminology around or the key the statement Yadu Mure Yavarum Kelir, why it came about. There is a historical story that is never told, and I wanted to tell that story, and that's why I wanted to present it today in the context of Dravidian politics, and there is a lot of politics today in Tamil Nadu. Purananuru is considered among the earliest texts. Its periodicity and historicity, they all reflect like early Tamil writing, poetry. Pungundranar himself was a mathematician and also an astronomer. See, I am a student of this institute. My grandfather was a mathematician, and he told me about the Halley's comet. When he was young, he had seen Halley's comet. He said it was very big. You could see it from the sky. Unfortunately, when I went to see it, I went to the top of the building next door, administration building. They had a telescope there, and without the telescope, you could not see in 1986. But that is how things are. Purananur, of course, reflects the kingship as opposed to Ahananur. I guess a lot of people, my friends, tells me he sits with his wife and reads Ahananur in the evening. I guess it's given the nature of good relationship. These facts are often lost today, though. What led to Yadu Mure Yavarum Kelir is not understood today. It's not taught to us in Tamil when we study it. See, the key thing with in Tamil is what is called Muraivari, that is Yavarum Keli, that is all of us are related. It is the e pluribus unum of Tamil, and that's why today we find it in the UN. All men of all ranks are all equal. That is the important idea behind it. Now, treating different people differently is anathema to great Tamil, in the Tamil history. But the true story behind Yadumure Yavarum Kelir is a little different. See, the key point is there are Kelirs and there are Velirs. Velirs were said to be from Gujarat. They had come from the north. They say they came with Agasthyar. And they came to Parambanadu. Parambanadu is, I guess, Kerala, Tamil Nadu border. And they were not liked by the Chola king Killivalavan. And the Parambanadu people, they had their forts in the commanding heights of Piranmalai. The Chera kings, they banded together with the other kings, and they decided they had to attack Parambanadu. And initially Kapilar, who was the big poet at the time, he chose to prevent war. But unfortunately, in the war, he could not prevent the war. The key point here is, eventually things got even worse. But before that, I want to, explain the Velir dynasty. The Velir dynasty is said to be, they are called Satyaputras, and we should remember also that Satyaputras in some ways are related to Manu. in the sense that Manu is Satyavrata. The other point to make here is to note that they mention the Satyaputras, Cheralaputras, Tamraparani. This is from some kind of culvet from Ashoka's time, or maybe a little later, just a little later, which refers to all the kings of that period. So there were all these people who had come from Gujarat. In some ways they were Yadavas, and then there were also Yavana kings who were there in the west coast of Kerala. So there were all these peoples who are mentioned in those edicts. Now, unfortunately, in the face of this kind of enmity, Kapilar could not save Pari, he could not prevent war. He was, and of course, after Pari died, someone had to marry their daughters, Angavai and Sangavai, and Kapilar could not do that as well. Hence, Kapilar himself committed suicide. He basically, the traditional way for them was to face north and stop eating, and then they would die. So the problem of the two daughters fell on Avayar. So she did a little bit better. She married them off to Malayamankari's sons. But then this is the harrowing story. This is a terrible story that no one tells us. But so what was Pungundranar trying to tell us as to and is the poem Yadum Mure Yavarum Kelir, is it related to that? Initially Pungundranar was trying to play up Pari. He tried to tell the opposing kings, you think you can beat Pari, but you cannot. But then he couldn't, and so one fine day Pari was killed, probably through treachery, we do not know. But his daughters were heartbroken. They said, that day in that white moonlight we had our father, and no one could take the hill. This day in the white moonlight, kings with drums beating have taken over our hill, and we have no father. So that is the nature of enmity in the context in which Pungundranar set his words. Yadu Mure Yavarum Kelir is actually a double entendre. It is what you call Sledai Mori. Sledai Mori in the sense that what he is trying to say is that Yadavarum Kelir, Yavanarum Kelir, that is the aim of, that is the inner meaning behind Yadu Mure Yavarum Kelir. And his key point there is that we are all one, and so if they had not really thought that these people are Yadavas, those people are Yavanas, we have to go and fight with all these people, we would have had a much better society. And this was a society that they had dreamed for Tamil Nadu. And so before, towards the end, in the small poem, Pungundranar says, Periyorai Viyatalum Ilame, Siriyorai Igartalum Adaninum Ilame. The key point here is that today we get a chance to read Pungundranar, and we all say, oh, we have put it in, we are all such nice people, we have put it in UN, and in respect, people are respecting us. This is Tamil universalism. Brand Tamil is always represented Yadu Mure Yavarum Keli. But then, when we take a look at the lost, the dropped lines in Tamil Thai Vazhuthu, you always see Aryam Pol Ulagarindu Ulagarindoriyum Sidayum Tiram Viyandu, but Tamil Mattum Vazhuthadume. That is the underpinning story that we always hear. Today there's a lot of opposition to what is Sanskrit and some ways Hindi, etc. But we should not encourage this too much, and we should accept that we are a united society in India. Which brings me to the other point that I would like to make. In 1980s, there was the song by involving Yadum Ure, Yavaram Keliras in the movie Ninaithale Inikum. See, that period is now changing. Today what we find is Tamil Nadu becoming subnational parochialism dominating Tamil culture. We are trying to take an anti-Hindi, anti-Sanskrit stance similar to what Sheldon Pollock seems to imply that against so-called imperialism. However, and also the other problem that we have is this idea that recently there was this whole opposition to Rajinikanth entering Tamil politics. When he was in movies, there was all this statement saying that he had what is called Dravida Kilai. There was this actor Sivakumar who said he has this Dravida Kilai. Unfortunately, when it came to politics, they said no, there is all that doesn't matter. He is not a Tamilian anymore. So in this context, I would invite a broader understanding. Don't படையப்பாவை படையெடுத்து எதிர்க்காதீர்கள் தான் நான் சொல்வேன். So that is all I have, and I hope that someday that all these parties and all these people who enter politics, at one time they are all in movies, they are all friends. Rajinikanth and Kamal Haasan are all dancing together, singing Yadum Ure Yavarum Keli. Maybe today they can unite together and come together and form a new party. And I hope that there is unity in politics as there is in every other walk of life, and we are not needlessly opposing each other as we build a friendlier Tamil Nadu for everyone. And I would like to praise Anna Hazare, who wants to bring probity in politics, because I am talking of Purananuru, politics is fair game. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My topic is ancient account of nationalism in Tamil Nadu. So the sleepy village of P. Thippanapalli, nestled away from the yawning highways, is some 20 kilometers from Krishnagiri. The village, with 345 households, has over 400 men in the armed forces, while over 160 persons draw ex-servicemen's pensions. These are the statistics of only one village from Tamil Nadu. It is not paradoxical to say that Tamil Nadu, with its modern political boundaries, has indeed given a lot to its people in form of soldiers, philanthropists, poets, writers, economists, and of course engineers. This tradition of nationalism, of wanting to do something for your own people, is anything but new. It has a long history of its own. This paper will attempt elaborating on history of nationalism in Tamil Nadu. The Cambridge Dictionary defines patriotism as feeling of loving your country more than any other and being proud of it, whereas nationalism can be described as a great or too great love of your own country. Thus, there is a slight line of demarcation between the two. This paper deals with the idea of nationalism with respect to loyalty towards one's land. Social and political scientists have defined nationalism in a variety of ways. This paper considers the definition, which states that nationalism is nothing but loyalty to a region, language, religion, and more importantly, the people. It is a sense of belongingness towards all these aspects. Nationalism is a natural human feeling which has been prevalent ever since man started living in groups. It is probable that the concept existed under a different name with different definitions. It may also be likely that loyalty, bravery, willingness of a person to die for land, language, culture, religion, or own set of beliefs was termed as nationalism. This attempt of the paper is to assess how strong, where, and when this sentiment is reflected in context of ancient Tamil Nadu. Hero stones, also known as Mahasati stones, Veeragad or Nadukal, are carved stones erected in honor of a brave man or a woman who perished while defending the interests of the village, such as while fighting bandits who attempted to steal cattle or invaders who abused women. There are strongest evidences to elaborate on bravery and loyalty of a hero. Hero stones are found in abundance in South India. Large number of the same is found in Tamil Nadu as well. Most of these are dated back to nearly 1400 years. This shows remembrance towards spirit of nationalism evident in the given geography and chronology. There were 6 stages in making of an adugal. They were to find out the appropriate stone, fix an auspicious hour for carving out the image and inscribing, get the stone bathed in sacred waters, plant it in already place affixed, and celebrate it as a deity. Hero stones were also erected in remembrance of those soldiers who died fighting wild animals for their community, also for those who could prevent or reduce the damage to cattle. Cattle lifting was the first tactic for beginning of a war. Hence, importance has been attached to it. Mention of erecting such a stone memorial for the soldiers is seen in Sangam literature, Ponniyin Selvan. One such example was of Ganga king who died in a battle. His shrine was erected on northern banks of river Mandi near village. Some scholars state that hero stones in this area date back to 600 BCE, almost parallel to Iron Age. Albeit this fact has not been accepted unanimously, it does prove existence and celebration of local heroes. Man continued evolving, and so did his ways of communication. Gradually, man had a language and then script to express him. Activities, events, incidents, anecdotes were recorded orally. It soon became a mass of extensive literature that stayed on for a long time. Most aspects of a flourishing culture down south beyond the Vindhyas were recorded early in the historical period in literature. This piece of literature came to be known as Sangam. This could be the earliest evidences of available literature in the South Indian context. Tradition preserved by the bards, it went on to tell wonderful stories of their ancestors. Sangam is word of Sanskrit origin and Buddhist context. It refers to the assembly of poets, bards, writers who came together for creation of such a piece of literature. It spoke about the grandeur of kings and innocence of flora and fauna. It described love and loyalty. Scholars opine that Sangam literature was composed for nearly 400 years, tentatively from 200 BCE to 200 CE. Bards were funded by various personalities preserving their legends. Kings, chieftains, rich and eminent people were favored by the poets. One such story is of Pari, who was a lifelong friend of Kapilar, a village chieftain. Heroism and generosity of Pari was praised along with his loyalty. Some time ago, Pari was targeted by 3 kings. This is when Kapilar stood by him in tough times. Other poets state that Kapilar trained birds of the region in such a way that they brought corn from open country behind enemy lines to feed the city and army for several months. Even if this is an exaggeration, it implies that Pari made some sort of an arrangement to prevent suffering of his own subjects. He was a poet. He did not have to look into these matters at all, but his sense of responsibility is indeed praiseworthy and can be termed under patriotism. Wars would generally start by lifting cattle and conclude with massacred people. It was not only the rulers but also chieftains under them who engaged in activities of this sort. The respective bards, poets had the opportunity to prove their devotion. Sangam literature is full of such stories, state scholars. Kalatayar was bard of Chera king Artan and Venikutayar was poetess of a Chola king. This is stated in Puram verse 65-66. The troops were also accompanied by priests and astrologers. The priests would chant hymns and utter words of encouragement to the soldiers, congratulating them on nobleness of character. The astrologers would help the king in setting an auspicious time for attack. Something similar is also seen in the Kautilya's Arthashastra. The art of war became important in this region, for the people of Tamil Land have consistently put up fight for their rulers, whether it was the Cholas against the Pandya, the Chalukya against Pallavi, or the Cheda against the Cholas. This was mainly for grandeur and larger territory for the empire. Another reason could be language and religion. Minor differences noticed in the dialect of Tamil and other languages of Dravidian origin, Vaishnavism and Shaivism were points of conflict. Abundant literature with spacious descriptions is available on this subject. Some of the titles are Shivagamiyin Sabatham, Pattiru Pattu. Records of such wars mention heroes at times, but one does not easily come across a story of trickery or deceit. This is rare for a literature that is so vast and that has been composed over many centuries. It is more engrossed in discussing the greatness of his people. However, Kalki's Ponniyin Selvan gives a passing reference to a loyalty of the people towards their earlier king Veerapandya. Madurai was conquered by the Chola, yet some people considered Veerapandya as their king. During times of a war, a certain class of ministers called Porinar accompanied the kings and the troops. They would encourage soldiers for war and tell stories of past heroes in times of peace. This was in order to uplift the spirits of soldiers who were willing to give their life for the king. The texts which refer to such incidents are Puram, verse 382, Purananuru, Takadurayattirai, Sutra 63 and 67. Here one can see the names of bards who accompanied the Chera king and the Chola kings. The story of Kannagi from Shilpadikaram starts in the Chola kingdom and moves on to the Pandya kingdom, becoming a cause for its destruction and ultimate concludes in the Chera kingdom. She blames the Pandyan king for her husband's untimely death and swears on destruction of the kingdom. The literature describes her fury and also pacifies it till the extent where the rule is re-established. The story intends to emphasize her chastity but also talks about beauty of the land and what the people felt about it. There is no direct nationalism in this context. However, there is an undertone of betrayal and hence destruction with reference to the Pandyas. Manimekalai talks of one of the most celebrated epics of the Sangam literature with a specific purpose. It not only continues the story of Kovalan and Madhavi but also propagates Buddhism to a great extent. The main principle of Buddhism states that desire is a root cause of sorrow. The story of Sarnalagan and his mother Gautamai from Manimekalai is an interesting anecdote with regards to overcoming sorrow. The young boy meets an untimely death. Gautamai is pacified by Jambapati, a local deity who states that the young boy's life cannot be exchanged. He gives example of many soldiers dying in war. Their life is not restored. Death should thus be accepted gracefully. The story is indicative of the greatness attached to the death of soldiers. A similar idea of nationalism is also seen in the Atharva Veda. The Bhumi Sukta describes the beauty of his land, how the poet feels for the region and his gratitude towards all that he has been blessed with. He is willing to give everything required for the same. Kautilya Arthashastra and his successors, Manusmriti, the Shanti Parva from Mahabharata, Apastamba, Gautama, are some of the other Sutrakara in polity mention that kingdom is of utmost importance and anyone who thinks or acts otherwise should be punished adequately. This too can be a form of nationalism. This is reflected plentifully in texts like Tirukural, Ponniyin Selvan and Purnapuru with reference to Sangam literature. The Tirukural has 3 specific chapters, Arattupal, Portupal and Kamatupal, which talk about obtainance of dharma, artha and kama with reference to polity. Military spirit, envoy, detectives, etc. are elaborated on. Ravidas in Ponniyin Selvan instructs fellow soldiers that none other than their men should be spared. He warns them of spies who may seem similar or have similar aims, but they are to be excluded at all times and executed whenever possible. Some scholars like Nilakantha Shastri, Shri Ramaswamy Iyengar state that Tirukular may have been inspired from Kautilya Arthashastra. One can see immense similarities in ideas of kingdom, loyalty, punishment and other aspects of administration. The literary aspect in terms of aphorism, style and meter are also very similar. What the scholar stated may or may not be true, but the argument that cannot be refuted is give and take of ideas was in vogue in the ancient Indian society as a whole. It is intriguing to know that though geographically and chronologically diverse, these ideas were prevalent since times way prior, or they have travelled well to be deep rooted in each of these societies. One cannot state which culture was influenced first, but it can be stated that core ideas and more or less the medium of expression remained the same. The way Sangam literature has been composed easily reminds one of compositions of Ramayana and Mahabharata. It could have been a trend of those days to come up with thrilling compositions yet complete with information and morals. We can thus conclude that nationalism existed in form of loyalty for the king and language in some cases. Soldiers were commemorated by building memorials or hero stones in the name called Nadukal in Tamil. Women folk encouraged their husbands and sons to fight for the land, overcome whatever obstacles they faced to keep intact dignity of their land. The religion followed by the king became the religion of the people. No record of religious rebel is however seen in any of these texts. Stark similarities in administration and polity of most kingdoms. They also bear likeness with treatises of so-called North Indian, namely Manusmriti and Kautilya Arthashastra. Just because the language is different does not mean that the culture is different. So was stated by Dr. Nagaswamy in the morning session, which seems pretty applicable with reference to polity and administration. The later times continued to see heroes at local and eventually national level. With oncoming of invaders, Tamil probably had to take a back seat. Sumati Ramaswamy states that in the 7th century, Tamil had become an important language. It was used by Shaiva and Vaishnava saints alike. By 16th or 17th century, with oncoming of many diverse languages in the southern land, attempts were made to revive Tamil. Many praises for the language were in vogue. It came to be known as the language of Changam. It was indeed at par with Tamil as seen in. She states around this time the language was considered so superior that it was empowered as a goddess, a queen and a mother. This may not have reflected in popular culture, but it was held in high esteem by the elites. One wonders if this can be stated as an attempt to reviving or at least maintaining the Tamil identity which was fast appearing by then. The British Independence War saw many heroes from Tamil Nadu, some of them being K.S.R. Kumaraswamy, Muraliyar, Veeramangai Velunchayar, Chidambaram Pillai, Mahakavi Subramanyam Bharati and others. The tradition of willingness from state of Tamil Nadu to serve its people thus has a history of over 1500 years. Sheldon Pollock has once mentioned that ancient Indian literature serves no contemporary purpose except for the study of how Indians express themselves. The way that Indians express themselves is indeed very flexible. It contains glimpses into the past, yet talks abundantly about the changes it accepts with changing times. This is our strength in disguise. It is not merely a matter of pride that people of the land have given in their capacity to their king, land and people. Such heroes were also celebrated, remembered and made immortal through Indian literature and oral traditions. This tradition continues till date in the form of expression may have changed.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். என்னுடைய ஆய்வு கட்டுரையின் தலைப்பு தொல்காப்பியமும் பாணினியமும் ஆகும். அதாவது சமஸ்கிருதத்தில் ஒரு ஸ்லோகம் சொல்லுவாங்க, வாகர்த்தா விவ சம்பிருக்தோ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தையே ஜெகதக பிதரோ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரோ. அதாவது சொல்லும் பொருளும் இணைந்திருக்க மாதிரி சிவனும் பார்வதியும் இணைந்தே இருப்பாங்க. அதே மாதிரி தான் இந்திய துணைக்கண்டத்தில் தமிழ் மொழியையும் சமஸ்கிருத மொழியும் பிரிக்கவே முடியாது. ரெண்டு மொழியோட தாக்கமும் ரெண்டுலையும் இருக்குது. அப்போ அதுக்கான பின்புலம் என்னவா இருக்குங்கிறது அது சமூக ஆய்வாளர்கள் பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயமா அது அமையுது. அந்த வகையில் இந்த கட்டுரையில் நான் என்ன எடுத்திருக்கேன்னா, தொல்காப்பியத்தில் பாணினியோட தாக்கம் இருக்குதா இல்லையா, இதுதான் இந்த ஆய்வு கட்டுரையோட கருப்பொருளாக அமைச்சிருக்கிறேன். முன்னுரை. உலகின் செவ்வியல் மொழிகளாக இருக்கக்கூடியவை கிரீக், லத்தீன், சீனம், எப்ரேயம், தமிழ், சமஸ்கிருதம். இவற்றுள் தமிழ் மொழியும் சமஸ்கிருத மொழியும் இந்திய துணைக்கண்டத்தில் செழித்து வளர்ந்தவை. தமிழ் மொழி சங்க காலத்துக்கு முன்பிருந்தே எண்ணிலடங்கா இலக்கண இலக்கியங்களை பெற்றுள்ளது. ஏட்டு மொழியாக மட்டுமின்றி பேச்சு வழக்கிலும் நிலை பெற்ற மொழியாக திகழ்ந்தது. தமிழ் மொழியில் தலைசிறந்த நூலாக கருதப்படும் தொல்காப்பியம் செய்யுள் வழக்கிற்கும் பேச்சு வழக்கிற்கும் இலக்கணம் கூறுவது குறிப்பிடத்தகுந்தது. சமஸ்கிருதம் நன்கு செய்யப்பட்டது என்னும் பொருளில் ஆளப்பட்டு வருகின்றது. பேச்சு வழக்கின் வழுக்களை களைந்து செப்பனிட்ட இலக்கிய மொழியாக இருந்து வருகின்றது. வேதகாலம் முதலாக சமஸ்கிருதத்தில் இலக்கிய வளர்ச்சி எண்ணப்படுகின்றது. தமிழ் மொழியின் முதல் நூலான தொல்காப்பியத்தையும் சமஸ்கிருத மொழியின் முதல் இலக்கணமாக கருதப்படும் பாணினியின் அஷ்டாத்தியாயும் இங்கு ஆய்வுக்கு எடுத்துக்கொள்ளப்படுகின்றது. இந்த ஆய்வினுடைய நோக்கம் தமிழ் சமஸ்கிருத இலக்கண பண்புகள் ஒன்றின் மீது ஒன்று தாக்கத்தை ஏற்படுத்தியுள்ளதா, இவ்விலக்கண உருவாக்கத்திற்கான தேவையாது. கருதுகோள். அதாவது இந்த ஆய்வுக்கு என்ன கருதுகோளாக நான் வச்சுருக்கிறேன்னா, பாணினியின் தாக்கம் தொல்காப்பியத்தில் இடம்பெற்றுள்ளதா, இலக்கண தாக்கம் மேலோட்டமான வடிவமைப்பு மாற்றம் அன்று, தாக்கம் ஒரு மொழி ஆதிக்கத்தின் சமூக ஏற்புடைமையின் வெளிப்பாடு. அதாவது சமூகத்தோட பிரதிபலிப்பு தான் இலக்கியம். அந்த இலக்கியத்துக்கு எழுதப்பட்டது தான் இலக்கணம். அப்போ இலக்கியத்தில் சமஸ்கிருத மொழியோட தாக்கம் இருந்ததுன்னா அது கண்டிப்பாக அது இலக்கணத்துலேயும் அதோட தாக்கத்தை ஏற்படுத்தியிருக்கும். அந்த கருதுகோளின் அடிப்படையில் தான் அந்த கட்டுரையோட அமைப்பு அமைஞ்சிருக்கு. முதல்ல இலக்கணம்னா என்ன, அடுத்து இலக்கண உருவாக்கம், தொல்காப்பிய உருவாக்கம், அஷ்டாத்தியாயி உருவாக்கம், தொல்காப்பிய அஷ்டாத்தியாயி ஒப்பீடு, தொகுப்புரை. இதுதான் அந்த கட்டுரையோட அமைப்பு. இந்த இலக்கணம் எடுத்துக்கிட்டோன்னா தமிழ் மொழியில் இலக்கணங்கிற சொல்லுக்கு பல்வேறு விதமான பொருள்கள் சொல்கிறாங்க. அதாவது தமிழ் மொழியில் இலக்கணம்னு எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா எழுத்து, சொல், பொருள், யாப்பு, அணி அங்கிற அந்த 5 பகுதிகளையுமே குறிக்கக்கூடியது அங்கே இலக்கணங்கிற சொல்லு. ஆனால் பெரும்பாலான வெள்ளை வாரணராக இருக்கட்டும், வையாபுரி பிள்ளையாக இருக்கட்டும், இவங்களாம் என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா லக்ஷணா, அதாவது வியாக்கரணம்ங்கிற மொழிபெயர்ப்பு தான் இலக்கணம்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அதை நான் மறுத்து சொல்கிறேன். ஏன்னா வடமொழியில் வேதத்தின் அங்கமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய வேதாங்கங்கள் 6: சிக்ஷா, வியாக்கரம், சந்தஸ், நிருக்தம், ஜோதிஷம், கல்பம். அதில் வியாக்கரணம்ங்கிறது அங்கே சொல்லி இலக்கணத்தை மட்டும்தான் குறிக்கிறதே தவிர மற்ற இலக்கணங்கள் அதை குறிக்காது. ஆனால் தமிழ் மொழியில் இலக்கணங்கிறது எழுத்து, சொல், பொருள், யாப்பு அப்படிங்கிற அந்த 5 பகுதியிலுமே குறிக்கிறதுனால வியாக்கரணம்ங்கிறது வேறு, இலக்கணம்ங்கிறது வேறு. அதைத்தான் அந்த ஆய்வில் நான் சொல்லியிருக்கிறேன். ரெண்டாவது, தொல்காப்பியம் தான் தமிழ் மொழிக்கு கிடைத்த முதல் இலக்கண நூல். அந்த இலக்கண நூலில் இலக்கணங்கிற சொல்லை அவர் 4 இடத்துல பயன்படுத்துகிறாரு. அப்போ 4 இடத்துல பயன்படுத்தக்கூடிய அந்த இலக்கணங்கிற சொல் ஒரே பொருள்நிலையில் குறிக்கிறதானா இல்லை, அது ஒவ்வொரு நிலையிலையும் வேறு வேறு ஒரு பொருள்நிலைகளை அங்கே குறித்து சொல்லப்படுகின்றது. அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா இந்த இலக்கண உருவாக்கம் என்பது பூஜ்ஜியத்தில் நிகழ்வதென்று. இலக்கணத்தை எழுதுவதற்கு ஒவ்வொரு இலக்கண கலைஞனுக்கும் வலுவான காரணங்களும் சமூக பின்புலங்களும் உள்ளன. இலக்கணம் ஒரு சமூகத்தின் உற்பத்தி பொருள். எனவேதான் இதன் மீது அடையாளப்படுத்துதலும் அதிகமாகவே உள்ளது. இதனை சொல்கிறார் சு. ராஜாராம் அவருடைய மேற்கோள் இது. அடுத்து தமிழ் மொழி இலக்கண தோற்றத்துக்கான காரணம் என்னன்னு பார்த்தோம்னா, கிடைத்துள்ள தமிழ் நூல்களில் மிகவும் பழமையானது தொல்காப்பியம்தான். தொல்காப்பியத்துக்கு முன்பும் சில தமிழ் நூல்கள் இருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். இலக்கியம் காணாத ஒரு மொழிக்கு இலக்கணம் வகுப்பது என்பது பண்டைய நாட்களில் காணப்படாத ஒன்று. தொல்காப்பிய நூற்பாக்களில் காணப்படும் என்ப, என்மனார், புலவர் என்ற சொற்கள் அதுக்கு முன்பிருந்த இலக்கண நூல்களைத்தான் குறிக்கின்றன. அதாவது தொல்காப்பியம் மூன்று இயல்களையும் 9 அதிகங்களாக கொடுக்கப்பட்டுள்ளது. அதில் 247 இடத்துல என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்னா அந்த என்ப, என்மனார்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அப்போ தொல்காப்பியத்துக்கு முன்னாடி கட்டாயமாக ஏராளமான இலக்கிய இலக்கணம் கொண்டது தான் இந்த தமிழ் மொழிங்கிறத அங்கே நம்ம நிறுவ வேண்டிய கட்டாயத்தில் இருக்கிறோம். தொல்காப்பியம் எதற்காக எழுதப்பட்டது என்று தொல்காப்பியர் குறிப்பிடவில்லை. இருப்பினும் சில காரணங்களை வைத்துக்கொண்டு நாம் பொருத்தி பார்க்க முடியும். வேறு மொழி பேசும் மக்களுடன் தொடர்பு கொள்ளுதல், வேற்று மொழியில் சிறந்த இலக்கணம், அம்மாதிரியான இலக்கணம் உருவாக்க வேண்டும் என்ற ஆவல், வேறு மொழி பேசும் மக்களுக்கு தங்கள் மொழியை கற்பித்தல். அப்போ இந்த மூன்றில் எது தொல்காப்பியர் எடுத்துக்கிட்டாருன்னு நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா, கிமு 3ஆம் நூற்றாண்டிலிருந்தே தமிழ் மக்களுக்கும் இந்தோ ஆரிய மொழி பேசும் இனத்தவருடன் தொடர்பு இருந்தது என்பதை அசோகன் காலத்து கல்வெட்டுக்கள் நமக்கு குறிப்பிடுகின்றன. பல வடமொழி சொற்கள் தமிழில் கலந்திருந்தாலும் தமிழ் மொழியில் பெருமளவு மாற்றத்தை ஏற்படுத்தவில்லை. தமிழ் மொழி வழக்கில்லாமல் போய்விடுமோ என்ற அச்சம் ஏற்படவில்லை. எனவே தமிழ் இலக்கணம் ஒரு பாதுகாப்பு மனப்பான்மையின் காரணமாக தோன்றியிருக்க முடியாது. பிற மொழியில் உள்ள சிறந்த இலக்கணங்கள், அதாவது வடமொழியில் சிறந்த இலக்கணங்கள் தொல்காப்பியர் தேர்ச்சியுற்று இருந்தார் என்றும் அவருடைய நூலிலிருந்தே நாம் அறியலாம். சம்ஸ்கிருத பிராகிருத சொற்கள் தமிழில் பயன்படுத்தும் போது தமிழ் மொழி ஒளியின் கருத்துக்கேற்ப மாற்றுதல், மொழிபெயர்க்கும் போது பின்பற்ற வேண்டிய கொள்கைகள் போன்ற விதிகளை அவர் விவரமாக சொல்கிறாரு. தொல்காப்பியர் வடமொழி இலக்கணங்கள் நன்கு கற்று தேர்ச்சியுற்றார் என்பதில் எந்த ஐயமும் இல்லை. ஆனால் தொல்காப்பியர் வடமொழி இலக்கணங்களை முன்மாதிரியாக கொண்டு இலக்கணம் எழுதினார் என்பது பொருந்தாது. அதை என்ன நான் சொல்ல வரேன்னா, தொல்காப்பியத்தோட முழுக்க நோக்கம் என்னென்னா, பிற மொழியாளர்களுக்கு தன்னுடைய தமிழ் மரபை விளக்கணுங்கிறது அவருடைய முதல் நோக்கம். அப்போ என்னென்னா, தொல்காப்பியருக்கு கண்டிப்பாக வடமொழி அறிவு இருக்குது, அதை மறக்கவே முடியாது. ஏன்னா அவர் 5 இருந்த தொல்காப்பியன் தன்னுடைய பாயிரத்திலே அங்கே குறிப்பிடுறாங்க. அப்போ 5 கொள்கையெல்லாம் தொல்காப்பியருக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு, வடமொழியோட இலக்கண அமைப்பும் தெரிஞ்சிருக்கு. இருந்தாலும் அந்த அமைப்பு முறையை வச்சுக்கிட்டு நம்முடைய தமிழ் இலக்கண மரபு அதுலேருந்து எப்படி மாறுபட்டிருக்குங்கிறத அவர் நிறுவுறாரு. ஏன்னா அங்கே பொருளதிகாரங்கிற அந்த கான்செப்டே கிடையாது. அகம்புறத்துக்கு இலக்கணம் எழுதுகிற அந்த முறையும் வடமொழியில் கிடையாது. அப்போ எங்கெங்கே அது இருக்குது இல்லைங்கிறத வேறுபடுத்தி காட்டுறதுக்காக தன்னுடைய மரபை பதிவு பண்ணுறதுக்காக தான் தொல்காப்பியங்கிற ஒரு இலக்கண நூல் எழுதப்பட்டிருக்கு. ஏன் நான் சொல்கிறேன்னா, தொல்காப்பியத்தில் முதல்ல எடுத்துக்கிட்டோன்னா, இப்போ ஒருத்தங்களுக்கு மொழியை நம்ம கற்பிக்கும் போது எடுத்தோன்னே எழுத்து தான் சொல்லித்தருவோம். அவர் என்ன பண்ணுறாரு, பிற மொழியாளர்களுக்காக கற்றுத்தரணுக்காண்டி தான் எழுத்தெனப்படுவ அகர முதல் நகர இருவாய் முற்பகுதி என்ப சார்ந்து வரல் மரபின் மூன்றலங்கடையன்னு முதல் நூற்பால் அமைக்கிறாரு. அதே மாதிரி சொல்லதிகாரத்தை எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா, உயர்திணை என்மனார் மக்கள் சுட்டு அக்ரிணை என்மனா அவரலை பிறவேங்கிறார். அதாவது வடமொழியில் எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா இங்கே உயர்திணை அக்ரிணைங்கிறது பொருள் அடிப்படையில் பிரிச்செடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்குது. அங்கே நம்ம என்ன உச்சரிக்கிறோமோ அந்த உச்சரிப்பு அடிப்படையில் தான் அங்கே என்ன பண்ணுறோம், பும்லிங்கம், ஸ்ரீலிங்கம், நபும்சலிங்கம்னு அந்த மாதிரியான பாகுபாடுகள் அங்கே இருக்குது. ஆனால் இங்கே அப்படி கிடையாது. இங்கே முழுக்க பொருள் அடிப்படையில் தான் பிரிச்சிருக்காங்க. அதே மாதிரி பொருளதிகாரத்தை எடுத்துக்கிட்டோம்னா, கைக்கிளை முதலா பெருந்திணை இருவாய் முற்பட கிளந்து எழுதின என்ப, அதாவது திணைங்கிற கான்செப்ட் நமக்கு தான் இருக்குங்கிறத நிறுவுறதுக்காக தான் ஒவ்வொரு இயல்லையும் முதல் நூற்பா பிற மொழியில் எதெல்லாம் இல்லையோ அதை சொல்லி காட்டணுக்காண்டி அவர் ஒவ்வொரு இயல்லையும் அந்த மாதிரி நூற்பாக்களை அமைச்சிட்டு போகிறாரு. அடுத்து பார்த்தோன்னா, அடுத்து அந்த ஒழிப்பு முறைகள்லாம் எப்படி எந்தெந்த எழுத்துக்கு அப்புறம் எப்படி வருங்கிறதையும் தொல்காப்பியர் குறிப்பிட்டு போகிறாரு. அடுத்து சமஸ்கிருத மொழி இலக்கண உருவாக்கம். சமஸ்கிருத மொழியோட இலக்கண உருவாக்கத்துக்குரிய தேவை என்னென்னா, அங்கே முழுக்க வேதத்தை பாதுகாக்கணும். அப்போ வேதத்தை பாதுகாக்கிறதுக்கு எது அவங்க முக்கியம் மையப்படுத்துகிறாங்கன்னா உச்சரிப்பு. அப்போ அந்த உச்சரிப்பை வச்சுக்கிட்டு தான் அங்கே இலக்கணம் எழுதப்படுது. இங்கே சொல்கிற மாதிரி மரபை பாதுகாக்கணுங்கிற அந்த கொள்கை பாணினி கிடையாது. வேதத்தை பாதுகாக்கணும், அதுக்கு என்ன தேவைங்கிறது மட்டும்தான் அவர் இலக்கணமாக அங்கே வகைப்படுத்திட்டு போகிறாரு. இந்திய ஆரியர்கள் வரலாற்றின் காலம் அவர்கள் இந்தியாவின் வடமேற்கு பகுதியில் குடியேறியிருந்து தொடங்குகிறது. முதல் இலக்கியம் ரிக்வேதம். வேத காலத்தில் வேத மந்திரங்களை செவி வழியாக பரப்பினார்கள். வேள்வியில் மந்திரங்களை சரியான முறையில் உச்சரித்தால்தான் அதற்குரிய பலன் கிட்டும். வேள்வியின் பயன் கிட்டாமல் போய்விடுமோ என்ற அச்சத்தில் அம்மொழியின் புனிதத்தன்மையை பாதுகாக்க பல முயற்சிகள் எடுத்துக்கொண்டன. இதன் விளைவாக பிராதி சாக்கியங்கள் என்று அழைக்கப்பட்ட நூல்கள் தோன்றின. இந்நூல்கள் பெரும்பாலும் ஒளியியலையும் புணர்ச்சி மாற்றங்களையும் மட்டுமே ஆராய்கின்றன. ஆரியர்கள் வடமேற்கு பகுதியிலிருந்து கிழக்கு திசையில் மகத நாட்டிற்கும் குடிபெயர்ந்தனர். வேறு இனத்தவருடன் அதிகமான தொடர்பு ஏற்பட்டது. பிராமணர்களுடைய மதத்திற்கு எதிராக புத்தம், சமண, ஆஜீவகம் போன்ற புதுமத கோட்பாடுகள் உருவாயின. பிராகிருதம், பாலி போன்ற கிளை மொழிகள் தோன்றின. அசோகன் போன்ற அன்றைய அரசர்களும் தங்கள் ஆணைகளை பாலி மற்றும் பிராகிருத மொழிகளில் தான் பொறுத்து வைத்தனர். இதனால் இம்மொழி நன்கு வளர்ச்சியடைந்தது. அதாவது பாலி பிராகிருதம் நல்லா வளர்ச்சியடைந்த ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்னா, அக்காலத்தில் எழுந்த இலக்கணங்களின் அடிப்படையான நோக்கம் வேத மந்திரங்களின் புனிதத்தன்மை கெடாமல் இருக்கவும் மற்ற மொழிகளோடு ஏற்பட்ட போட்டியில் தங்கள் மொழி வழக்கிழந்து விடாமல் இருக்கவும் எடுத்துக்கொண்ட பாதுகாப்பு முறைகள் தான் இந்த பாணினி எழுதக்கூடிய அஷ்டாத்தியாயி அப்படின்னு சொல்லி நான் சொல்கிறேன். அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா, அஷ்டாத்தியாயி தான் சமஸ்கிருத மொழியில் கிடைத்திருக்கும் மிகவும் பழமையான நூல். பேசும் மொழியை அடிப்படையாக வைத்துக்கொண்டு அதற்கு விதிகள் அமைக்கிறார். காத்தியாயனர், பதஞ்சலி போன்றோர் பாணினியின் காலத்திற்கு பின் ஏற்பட்ட மாற்றங்களுக்கு விதிகளை அமைத்து இணைத்து அதை ஒரு நிலை இலக்கணமாக உருவாக்கினார்கள். இந்தோ ஆரிய மொழி சமஸ்கிருதம் என்ற பெயர் பெற்றது. பாணினிக்கு பின் வந்தவர்களும் பாணினியை பின்பற்றியே இலக்கணங்கள் எழுதினர். வரலாற்று நிகழும் நிகழ்ச்சியால் ஒரு மொழியானது எவ்வாறு பாதிக்கப்படுகிறது, அம்மொழியில் ஏற்படும் மாற்றங்கள், அவைகளிலிருந்து தங்கள் மொழியை பாதுகாக்க அம்மொழி பேசும் மக்கள் மேற்கொண்ட முயற்சிகள், இவற்றின் விளைவாக எழுந்த இலக்கண மரபுதான் வடமொழி இலக்கண நூல்களின் வரலாற்று பின்னணியாகும். அதாவது ஒரு பாதுகாப்பு முறைக்காக தான் அங்கே இலக்கணங்கள் எழுத ஆரம்பித்தாங்கன்னு சொல்கிறேன். அடுத்து தொல்காப்பிய அமைப்பு. 5 இலக்கண மரபில் முதலில் இடம்பெறும் நூல் தொல்காப்பியம். 3 அதிகாரங்களையும் 9 இயல்களையும் கொண்டு அமைந்துள்ளது. முதலில் பொது விதி, சிறப்பு விதி, புறநடை என்ற அமைப்பில் தொல்காப்பியம் எழுதப்பட்டுள்ளது. அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா, பாணினியின் காலம். பாணினி என்பவர் சாலாதூரா என்ற இடத்தில் பிறந்தவர். தந்தையின் பெயர் தாக்ஷி. இவர் காலம் கிமு 3ஆம் நூற்றாண்டாக இருக்கலாம் என கருதுகின்றனர். இந்தோ ஆரிய மொழியின் தொடக்க கால நிலையில் அமைந்திருந்த மொழியின் இலக்கணமே அஷ்டாத்தியாயி. பாணினி பாஷா என்று குறிப்பிடுகிறார். அஷ்டாத்தியாயிக்கு முன்னும் பல இலக்கண நூல்கள் இருந்திருக்கின்றன என்பதை அந்தந்த ஆசிரியர்கள் அவர் மேற்கோள் காட்டுகிறார். ஆபிசலி, கஷ்யப, கார்கிய, காலவ, பாரத்வாஜ, சாக்கட்டாயன, சாக்கல்ய போன்றவர்களை அவர் என்ன பண்ணுறாருன்னா தன்னோட நூல்களில் மேற்கோளை காட்டுறாரு. ஆனால் அந்த நூல்களை இப்போ எதுவுமே நம்ம கையில் இப்போ தற்போது இல்லை. அப்புறம் அஷ்டாத்தியாய அமைப்பை பார்த்திங்கன்னா அது 4000 சூத்திரங்களை கொண்ட 8 அத்தியாயங்களை கொண்டு அமைந்துள்ளது. அடுத்து அஷ்டாத்தியாயிக்கு துணை நூல்களாக இருக்கக்கூடிய அது ஒன்று சிவசூத்திரம், தாதுபாடம், கணபாடம், உணாதி சூத்திரம், பிட்சூத்திரம், லிங்கானுசாசனம், சிக்ஷா போன்றவையாகும். அடுத்து பாணினியோட இலக்கண கொள்கைகள் பார்த்திங்கன்னா சிவபெருமானுடைய உடுக்கையில் வடபகுதியிலிருந்து வடமொழியும் தென்பகுதியிலிருந்து தென்மொழியாக தமிழ் மொழியும் உருவாச்சுங்கிற அதை இறைவனை வைத்து கொண்டு தான் மொழி உருவாங்கிற கொள்கை எல்லா மொழிக்குமே இருக்குது. அப்போ வடமொழியில் என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா, பாணினியோட உடுக்கையை அந்த ஒளி சத்தத்துக்கு ஏற்ப தான் ஐ உன் ரில்லுக்குன்னு அந்த 14 சூத்திரங்களை அவர் உருவாக்குறாரு. அதான் அந்த 14 சூத்திரங்கள் கொடுத்துருக்கேன். பாணினி பொதுவான விதிகளை அமைத்து அவைகளை சார்ந்த சில புறநடை விதிகளையும் அமைக்கிறார். அந்த புறநடை விதிங்கிறது அப்பவாதம், உட்சர்க்க விதிங்கிறது பொது விதி. இரண்டையுமே ஒரு சூழ்நிலையில் பயன்படுத்த நேர்ந்தால் அப்பவாத விதி தான் பலம் பொருந்தியது என கூறுகிறார். ஒளி அழுத்தத்தை பற்றியும் கூறுகிறார். தாதுக்கள், ஒட்டுக்கள், பதங்கள் ஆகியவையின் சுரங்கள் எந்தெந்த சூழலில் மாற்றம் ஏற்படுகின்றன என்பதை விரிவாக விளக்குகின்றார். அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா, தொல்காப்பியம் அஷ்டாத்தியாயி ஒப்பீடு. அதாவது தொல்காப்பியம் எழுத்துக்கள் 33 குறிப்பிடுது. அஷ்டாத்தியாயி எழுத்துக்கள் 51. இங்கே சார்பு எழுத்துக்கள் நம்ம 3ங்கிறோம். அங்கே அயோகவாகம்னு சொல்லி அதை பிரிக்கிறாங்க எழுத்துக்களை. அடுத்த அடிப்படை உயிர் எழுத்துக்கள் ஆ, இ, உ, ஏ, ஓ. இங்கே ஆ, இ, உ, ரு, லு ஆகியவை அடிப்படை உயிராக அமைகின்றன. தமிழில் அதாவது உயிரெழுத்துக்களில் எந்த சுரங்களையும் அங்கே வேறுபாடு இருக்காது. இங்கே உயிரொலிகள் சுரத்தால் வேறுபடக்கூடியது. அடுத்து ஒளி உறுப்புகள், அதாவது பேச்சு உறுப்புகளாக சொல்லக்கூடியது 8ஆக வகைப்படுத்துகிறாங்க. அதே மாதிரி பாணினியிலுமே அங்கே ஒளி உறுப்புகள் 8ஆக வகைப்படுத்தப்படுகின்றன. அப்புறம் தமிழ் மொழியில் இந்த மாத்திரை அப்படிங்கிறது அங்கே மாத்திரான்னு சொல்லக்கூடிய தற்சம வடிவமாக இங்கே மாத்திரை நம்ம சொல்கிறோம். அதாவது தற்சமம், தர்ப்பம் 2 வடிவமுமே தொல்காப்பியர் பயன்படுத்துகிறார். அப்படின்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்னா, அவருக்கு வடமொழி அறிவு இருக்குங்கிறது அங்கங்கே வெளிப்படுத்திட்டே தான் போகிறார். தற்சமங்கிறது தனக்கு சமமான எழுத்து அங்கேயும் இங்கேயும் ஒரே மாதிரி இருந்தால் தற்சமம். இப்போ கமலம்ங்கிற சொல்ல காமலம் 4 எழுத்துமே தமிழ் மொழிக்கு இருந்தால் அது அப்படியே தற்சமம் எழுத்துக்களாக பயன்படுத்தலாம். அதே தர்ப்பமம் அப்படின்னா எதை சொல்கிறாருன்னா, இப்போ புஷ்பம்ங்கிற இடத்துல இஷ்ஷு தமிழுக்கு கிடையாது. அப்போ அந்த இஷ்ஷுக்கு பதில் இட்டு நம்ம அமைக்கலாம். அப்போ புஷ்பத்தை புட்பம் அதே மாதிரி ஆக்கிக்கொள்வது, அதாவது தர்ப்பவமாக ஆக்கிக்கொள்கிற மாதிரி அந்த விதிகளெல்லாம் சொல்கிறாருன்னா கட்டாயம் அந்த வடமொழி அறிவோடு தான் அவங்க பேசுகிறாரு. ஆனால் முழுக்க முழுக்க வடமொழி மாடலை அவர் எடுத்துகிட்டு பண்ணலை. அதை தான் இந்த கட்டளைலாம் சொல்ல வரேன். அப்புறம் அந்த மாத்திரைங்கிற சொல்ல எடுத்துக்கிறாங்க. அப்புறம் அகர இகரம் வந்து எப்படி வந்து இந்த புணர்ச்சியில் வந்து மாற்றம் பெறுது. இங்கே வந்து அதை பார்த்தோன்னா சந்தியக்கரம் சொல்கிறோம். அது மாதிரி இந்த கிறிஸ்வன் தீர்க்கம் புழுதம்னு நம்ம சொல்கிறோம் இல்லையா, அதாவது குரில் நெடில் அதுக்கு மேலே உள்ளது புழுதம்னு சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டில் சொல்கிறோம். ஆனால் புழுதம்ங்கிறது சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டில் தமிழ் மொழியில் கிடையாது. எங்கே கிடையாதுன்னா, அதாவது வரி வடிவத்தில் நமக்கு கிடையாது. அதே நேரத்தில் உச்சரிப்பு, அதாவது பேச்சு வழக்கில் வந்து புழுதம் உண்டு. இப்போ ஒருத்தங்க கீரை வைக்கிறான்னா கீரைன்னு நீட்டு ஒழிச்சாதான் அவன் வந்து அங்கே விற்க முடியும். அப்போ புழுதம்ங்கிறது என்னென்னா, அங்கே குறிப்பிடக்கூடிய எழுத்து வடிவம் அங்கே கிடையாது, உச்சரிப்பு வடிவத்தில் புழுதம் இருக்குங்கிறத தொல்காப்பியர் சொல்கிறார். அதுதான் மூவளபு இசைத்தல் ஓரெழுத்து அன்றே அப்படிம்பார். 3க்கு மேலே அளபடிக்கின்ற ஓசை வந்து தமிழ் மொழியில் கிடையாது. அப்போ எங்கே இருக்குங்கிறத அவர் மறைமுகமாக சொல்கிறார். வேதத்தில் தான் வந்து 3க்கு மேலே அளபடிக்கின்ற ஓசை உண்டு, நமக்கு இருக்குது. எங்கே இருக்குன்னா பேச்சு வழக்கில் இருக்குன்னு. சில இடங்களில் அந்த சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டோட இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் வந்து நிறைய அவர்கிட்ட இருக்கிறத நம்ம வந்து நூற்பாக்கள் வழியாக நம்ம வந்து பார்க்க முடியும். அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா, அந்த ஆசிரியனோடு மாணவன் வந்தான் அப்படிங்கிற எடுத்துக்காட்டு இவங்க என்ன சொல்கிறாங்கன்னா, ஒடு என்ற ஏற்பு சொல்லை அப்பிரதானம் என்றும் வந்தான் என்னும் வினையோடு முடிந்த சொல்லை பிரதானம் என்றும் கூறுகிறார். முடிவான என்ன சொல்கிறேன்னா, தொல்காப்பியம் அன்றைய வழக்கு மொழிக்கும் செய்யுள் மொழிக்கும் என உருவாக்கப்பட்ட இலக்கணமாகும். ஒரு மொழியின் இலக்கணம் என்பது பேச்சு மொழிக்கும் கவிதை மொழிக்கும் உரிய ஒரு இலக்கணமாக இருத்தல் வேண்டும் என்பது தொல்காப்பியரின் ஒருங்கிணைந்த இலக்கண கொள்கையாகும். பாணினியின் அஷ்டாத்தியாயி பேச்சு மொழியையும் வேத மொழியையும் உள்வைத்து எழுதப்பட்டது. மேலும் இந்தோ ஆரிய மொழி பிராகிருத மொழிக்கூறுகள் எதுவுமின்றி சுத்தமாக இருக்க வேண்டும் என்பதற்காக உருவாக்கப்பட்டதுதான் அஷ்டாத்தியாயி. தொல்காப்பியம் பல்வேறு மாற்றங்களை புதிதாக பெற்று வளரும் மொழியாக இருத்தல் வேண்டும் என்ற நிலையில்தான் பல்வேறு புறநடை சூத்திரங்களையும் உருவாக்குகின்றது. தொல்காப்பிய எழுத்ததிகாரம் சொல்லதிகாரம் காணப்படும் சூத்திரங்கள் மேலே சொன்ன செய்திகளை வலியுறுத்துகின்றன. அதாவது தொல்காப்பியர் என்ன சொல்கிறாருன்னா, அந்த புறநடை சூத்திரத்தை சொல்லும்போது இது நான் சொன்னது தான் முடிவுன்னு கிடையாது, மொழிங்கிறது அந்தந்த காலகட்டத்துக்கு மாறக்கூடியது, அதுக்கு தகுந்தபடி நீங்கள் இலக்கணம் வந்து வகுக்கணுங்கிறது தொல்காப்பியத்தோடைய கோட்பாடு. ஆனால் பாணினிய கோட்பாடு அடிப்படையாக வச்சு தான் பின்னாடி வந்து சாரஸ்வத பள்ளியை எந்த பள்ளியாக இருக்கட்டும் அந்த 12 ஸ்கூலுமே பாணினியோட அந்த 4000 சூத்திரத்தோட விரிவாக இருக்கும், இல்லைன்னா சுருக்கமாக இருக்கும். அதை தாண்டிய ஒரு வளர்ச்சிங்கிறத நம்ம அங்கே வந்து பார்க்க முடியலைங்கிறத அந்த புறநடை சூத்திரத்தை வந்து இவங்க முக்கியத்துவப்படுத்துகிறாங்க தொல்காப்பியத்தில்னு சொல்ல வரேன். அடுத்தது செய்யுள் மருங்கினும் வழக்கியல் மருங்கினும் போன்ற சூத்திரங்கள் அவரது மொழி பற்றிய கொள்கைகளை சுட்டி காட்டுகின்றன. அடுத்து பார்த்தோம்னா, 20ஆம் நூற்றாண்டின் அமைப்பு மொழியியல் வளர்ந்த பிறகுதான் பேச்சு மொழியின் முக்கியத்துவம் உணரப்பட்டது. ஆனால் தொல்காப்பியம் மிக பண்டை காலத்திலேயே வழக்கு மொழியின் முக்கியத்துவத்தை உணர்ந்து அதற்கு இலக்கணம் எழுதிய பெருமையுடையதாக உள்ளது. தமிழ் இலக்கிய இலக்கண மரபுகளில் ஐந்திரம் அனைவருக்கும் அறிமுகமான இலக்கண சிந்தனையாக இருந்தது. விண்ணவர் கோமான் விழுநூல் என்ற சிலப்பதிகார வரிக்கு இந்திரனால் செய்த இலக்கணம் என அடியார்க்கு நல்லார் கூறுகின்றார். சமஸ்கிருதம் 2 இலக்கண மரபுகளை உடையது. ஒன்று ஐந்திர மரபு, 2 மாகேஸ்வர மரபு. ஐந்திர வியாக்கரணத்தின் கலைச்சொற்கள் வேதங்களிலும் உபநிடதங்களிலும் காணப்படுகின்றன. ஐந்திரத்தில் வேற்றுமை 8, தொல்காப்பியரும் வேற்றுமை 8 என கூறுவதால் ஐந்திரம் நிறைந்த தொல்காப்பியன் என சுப்பிரமணிய பிள்ளை கூறுகிறார். நிலப்பரப்புக்கு எல்லை வகுத்தனரே தவிர இலக்கண அறிவுக்கு எல்லை வகுக்கவில்லை. மற்றொரு மொழியின் இலக்கண அறிவு ஒரு மொழியின் இலக்கண உருவாக்கத்திற்கு எப்போதும் தடையாக இருந்ததில்லை. தொல்காப்பிய இலக்கண மரபுகளில் சில கூறுகளை நிறுவ வேண்டுமானால் ஐந்திரம், காதந்திரம், பாணினிய போன்ற இலக்கணங்களை பற்றிய தெளிவான சிந்தனை நமக்கு வேண்டும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தான் இந்த கட்டுரை முடிச்சிருக்கேன். ஏன்னா ஐந்திரம்ங்கிறது வடமொழியில் இந்திரனால் செய்யப்பட்ட நூல் அப்படின்னு நம்ம சொல்கிறோமே தவிர அதுக்கான சோர்சஸ் வந்து நம்ம வந்து இன்ன வரைக்கும் கொண்டு கொடுக்க முடியல. அதே மாதிரி சிலப்பதிகாரத்தில் பார்த்திங்கன்னா நிறைய இந்திரன் பற்றிய குறிப்புகள் நிறைய இருக்குது. இன்னும் அதோட ஆரிஜினை நம்ம கண்டுபிடிக்க உண்மையாகவே அந்த ஐந்திரம் இருந்த தொல்காப்பியங்கிறது எதை குறிக்குதுங்கிறத ஆய்வு பண்ணணும்னா அந்த காதந்திர பள்ளி, பாணினிய பள்ளி, அந்த ஐந்திர பள்ளி 3க்கு பற்றியான அந்த கருத்து வந்து நம்மக்கிட்ட தெளிவு இருந்தால் தான் இந்த ஆய்வு வந்து நம்ம வந்து முழுமை பெறுங்கிறது தான் இந்த கட்டுரையோட நோக்கமாக நான் முடிக்கிறேன். வாய்ப்புக்கு நன்றி.
Hari Om, Namaste. So my talk is titled Dravidianism and the Cultural Fabric of India and Southeast Asia. This is the outline of my presentation. I start out with the motivation, then briefly present the history of Tamil literature, and then present the cultural fabric of India, essentially the unity of India, especially how it is reflected through Tamil and Tamil Nadu, and also show how it is linked with the culture of Southeast Asia. And then against this backdrop, see how the ideology of Dravidianism has come about and then has evolved. And then I will discuss about the seeming fault lines which have been exploited to further this ideology of Dravidianism and finally conclude. So motivation, Tamil is one of the oldest languages of the world, which is very well known. It is in use continuously for at least 4,000 years, if not more. It is a recognized language in Sri Lanka, Singapore, so much so that it is a part of the currency note as well. In addition, it is widely spoken in Malaysia, Myanmar or Burma and Fiji and so on. And in the modern age, there is a huge Tamil diaspora all over the world. And due to a continuous cultural continuity in this part of the world called Tamil Nadu, we have some of the biggest temples which are there on the face of the earth, including even some of the temples of Southeast Asia. And so it so turns out also that the Cholas and even including some of the Oriya kings, they were expert maritime people. So even in the olden days, the Indian Ocean played a huge role in forming the cultural ethos of this region, and therefore, as Sanjeev Sanyal has also pointed out in his recent book, it is very important to understand the Indian Ocean region as a whole. Okay, so coming to the history of Tamil literature, scholars point out that there are at least 5 periods in which we can divide the evolution of the Tamil literature for our understanding. Firstly, people start off with the Sangam period, and some scholars claim that in this period, the influence of Sanskrit on Tamil was very minimal. And the Sangam period itself is divided into 3 sub-periods. The oldest work available for us today from the first 2 earlier periods is the Tolkappiyam, which forms a grammatical structure for Tamil. And the Thiruvalluvar's Thirukkural is attributed to the 3rd sub-period of the Sangam period. Following this is the epic period, where the 5 famous epics of the Tamil language were produced, most important one among them being Silappatikaran. Then come the period of the Nayanmars and the Alvars, who are the Shaiva and Vaishnava saints respectively, who have composed the Devarams and the Pasurams. Then followed is what the scholars call as a period of literary revival, where Kamban adapted the Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana into Tamil, called the Kamba Ramayana or the Ramakathai, and then several other Puranas also were adapted into Tamil. And coming to the modern period, once the Sangam literature was rediscovered in some sense, and the influence of Swami Vivekananda, who was traveling all over the country prior to independence, modern poets such as Subramanya Bharati, they came under the influence of Vivekananda, and then they got to know the older Sangam literature and so on, and they emerged as the greats, the modern greats of the Tamil literature, composing patriotic and devotional songs. So in summary, starting from the epic period up till the modern period, we can see that there has been quite a give and take between Sanskrit and Tamil, but whereas there is a claim that the Sangam period had very little Sanskrit influence. So I feel that that claim needs to be seriously and critically re-examined so that we can really ascertain if that is really true. Okay, now coming to the cultural fabric of India, we have what is known as Itihasa as our cultural counterpart to what the Westerners would normally call history. While history would be a basic bare bones recording of dates and events, Itihasa has a more humanistic touch to it. For example, when we say Ramayana is Itihasa for us, it is allowed, the retelling of Ramayana is allowed in various languages and also adapting it to the local customs. Whereas the hardcore history would not let one do that because it's only a recording of dates and events. So that is one way where Ramayana, in the Ramayana, for example, in any place in India or even in Southeast Asia for that matter, people could say that, you know, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita had come here, or Rama and Lakshmana passed through this village or place or forest in search of Sita and so on. Such things are allowed when we talk of Itihasas. Then moving forward, Shri Ramanujacharya, he honored both the Vedas along with the Divya Prabandhams, which were composed, which were gathered by Nath Muni, which were composed by the Alvars. That was in Tamil, but Ramanujacharya also writes commentary on the Upanishads and then integrates both the Upanishads which are there in Sanskrit and the Divya Prabandhams in Tamil. Further, Shri Ramanujacharya again comes up with the concept of Archavatara, where the deity which is installed in the temple is available for worship, and that is, he calls it as Archavatara. And he also advocated that the Pancharatra Agama be adopted, particularly in the Jagannatha temple at Puri, to which the local Pandas opposed. But then the point to be noted is that Ramanujacharya wanted the Pancharatra Agama to be adopted at Puri as well. So here is a person who is coming from Tamil Nadu, but he is advocating a Sanskrit tradition, if I may say so, in Puri. Further, we see that Rajaraja Chola, he undertakes a humongous effort to build the Brihadishwara temple for Shiva, who is famously known to reside in the Himalayas, right? And his son Rajendra Chola extends the Chola kingdom up till the Ganga river. So showing how even those days people of this region called Tamil Nadu revered the Ganga. Also, Swami Vivekananda, when he was roaming all over the country, he came to Madras and he was addressing the people of Madras, and he urged the people of so-called lower castes also to take up the study of Sanskrit. And it turns out that the Aryan invasion theory, or the Aryan and Dravidian as different races, were already brewing at his time, and he's clearly pointed out the fallacies in his lectures to the people of Madras. Okay, so that kind of shows the cultural unity of India as reflected in the Tamil culture and the Tamil people. Now let us just broaden our vision and then look at Southeast Asia. Ahnu has pointed out that there are a lot of similarities between the Tamil and the Japanese languages. Mainly he points out the vowels, consonants and the word order as similar factors. And he says that the word order followed in Tamil and Japanese is this subject, object, verb. But anybody who knows a little bit of Sanskrit knows that there is no strict word order in Sanskrit. So therefore, the subject, object, verb order could also be adapted in Sanskrit. So therefore, this similarity between Tamil and Japanese could easily be extended to include even Sanskrit. And it turns out that many Vedic deities are still worshipped in Japan even today. For example, Saraswati. Saraswati is worshipped as a lake even today, right? Yama, Indra, you can see them, Garuda even. So this is pointed out by Sarkar, and then art historian Binoy K. Bahal, who was an ambassador to Japan, has documented it very well. It's available also as a video on YouTube, so people can look at it. And very interestingly, the paintings and sculptures related to Samudramanthan and many ships are more prevalent in Southeast Asia than in India itself. So which is very interesting for people who visit those parts. They will be able to make this observation. And in fact, language of Indonesia is itself called Bahasa, which is very famous, right? So, and Sarkar again points out that the Sinhalese language has both the features of Sanskrit and Pali along with the Tamil. And also very interestingly, again Sarkar points out that in Bali, apart from certain Buddhist hymns to, shall we say, Hindu gods such as Surya, Vayu, Prithvi, etc. are found in a terror which can distinctly be called Indian, but somehow they are not preserved in India. So this kind of goes to show that there is a cultural unity across Southeast Asia which is shared with India. Now in this backdrop, let us look at what mischief people have been doing. So Raja Malhotra points out that this Cladwell, he escalated the seeming grammatical differences between Tamil and other Indian languages to the level of saying that Tamil Nadu or the Tamil people are somehow different from the rest of Indians, right? Even going up to the level of calling them as a different race and then coming up with the name Dravida, Arya and so on. And then finally took the shape of having the organizing the Tamil literature into the secular Kural and the religious texts which are available in the Tamil language and dealing both of them from Sanskrit. Thus saying that there is a separate Tamil literature which is completely dealing from Sanskrit, and when asked the question, then how do you explain the present Tamil having so many Sanskrit words, then they say it's the mischief of Brahmins which have who have introduced Sanskrit words into Tamil. So finally, this foundation of Dravidianism was taken forward by Periyar, angered by an incident which he underwent at Kashi. He started this Dravidar Kalangam or the self-respect movement of the Tamil people, which led to a trust deficit between Brahmins and non-Brahmins in Tamil Nadu, essentially leading to a kind of a social conflict. So there were some of the seeming fault lines which were being exploited to further this ideology of Dravidianism. We'll look at a few of them. So one of the things which some people say is that there is a disconnect between the Sindhu Saraswati civilization or the Harappa Mohenjo-daro civilization and the later day settlements, mainly because the Harappan scripts which were in use during the Harappan civilization, they don't seem to be continued later on, because what we find later on are basically the Brahmi based scripts. So people say that there is a discontinuity here, which is kind of a fault line. And then some people say that the Harappan people, they were sedentary, they had settled down in one place, whereas the Vedic people were nomadic, because they talk about let's say horses or the sun and the lotus and so on, which nomads will talk about. And then there is the decline of the Sindhu Saraswati civilization, which was such an advanced city based civilization which suddenly declines. So that decline begs explanation. So that is another thing where this Dravidianism is given as an answer. And some people also point out that there is a difference between the Vedic and the Puranic deities. Right? In the Vedas you have mention of Indra, Yama and so on, whereas the Puranas, they emphasize Shiva, Vishnu and so on. Again, some people again point out a difference between Sanskrit and vernacular languages. And very interestingly, I urge the audience to actually look at the presentation speech which was made by the presenters when the Nobel Prize was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore. They say that the preaching of the Christian religion has provided in many places the first definitive impulse towards a revival and regeneration of the vernacular language, and more importantly, its liberation from the bondage of an artificial tradition, and consequently also toward a development of its capacity for nurturing and sustaining a vein of living and natural poetry. So here you can see a startling case where a Nobel Prize is awarded to a work in a, let's say, a vernacular language, but the underlying purpose is to kind of highlight the vernacular language and to say that it's somehow freeing it from an artificial tradition, which is inherently the Sanskrit tradition is what is being meant here. But to an ordinary reader of the Gitanjali, he can immediately recognize that it is being inspired by Vedanta. But here the Nobel committee, they are trying to kind of say that you also need to recognize things in the vernacular language and not just Sanskrit. Okay, so a couple of words about the Indus Valley civilization or the Sindhu Saraswati civilization, since it is one of the main topics while discussing the Aryan Dravidian debate. So it has to be remembered that the brick sizes, the seals, the scripts are common over a very large area, right? Almost from the eastern border of Afghanistan till almost till today's Rajasthan, there is a very commonality of these or standardization of these items, which is not easy to explain back in those days. So that is one important point. Secondly, its relation with the Veda is not very well known, not very well understood. Some people say it was not, or Vedas came later because the invading Aryans brought it and so on and so forth. So the relation of the Veda begs explanation. And recent evidence is showing that the Sindhu Saraswati civilization actually outlives the drying up of the Saraswati. That is because people have found that there is an elaborate canal network which has been discovered, which has enabled people to continue staying in those parts in spite of the Saraswati drying up. Then this further begs explanation as to why the civilization then declined. And Kevanar pointed this out, that seashells were used as ornaments by Harappans, but the word Shankha is not found in the Vedas. Well, this is again he says that there is no evidence for horses in the Harappan sites which are available. So here, of course, the off-quoted statement, one can remember that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And also even people in the tradition agree that many portions of the Vedas are lost today. So if something is not found in the Veda, we cannot assume that it was not there at all. Anyhow, but these are some of the, shall we say, fault lines which beg some explanation from scholars. But on the other hand, let's look at some other interesting observations, right? So Indoscript, let's look at some of the topics of the Indoscript. There is no consensus among the scholars on how to decipher this script, because one reason is these whatever scripts are available are extremely short, only a few characters wide. And so some people forward the argument that maybe the script was used to write multiple languages. So this is not just one single language which we can decipher. Others like B.V. Subbarayappa have forwarded the argument that these symbols could represent numbers and not letters. And this is very interesting. So this here is a Harappan seal. So here you can see that there is a face of a bird. Here is again a face of a bird here, right? And if you can extend your imagination slightly, you can say that this eye is closed and this eye is open. Then immediately you can remember this mantra from the Mundaka Upanishad, Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya, which means two birds are sharing the same tree. So you can see a people tree here, and these are two birds, they are sharing the same tree. And literally the mantra says one of the birds is eating the fruits of the tree, while the other bird is not eating but merely watching. So here is a Harappan seal, and then you are able to correlate a mantra from the Mundaka Upanishad. It also comes in the Rig Veda. And here you can see that this looks like a bow. This two faces of the two necks and heads of the bird, it makes a bow shape, and then you can see an arrow here. So again in the Mundaka Upanishad you have another mantra which says Pranamo Dharusharo Hyatma Brahma Tallakshyamuchyate, etc. So again which can be correlated here. So this is pointed out by one Simha in his book, but it will be very interesting to see if other Harappan seals can be linked with Vedic mantras like this, which can be very interesting. But so far I have come across only this linkage with only this seal. And also here if you notice, this leaf in shape and size, it's very akin to the people tree. So Kalyan Raman points out that by this stage itself the people tree could have been considered auspicious. So if you buy these arguments, then we can say that the Harappan culture was very much Vedic, right? So we need further research in this to understand this better. So in conclusion, I have presented the richness of the Tamil language, the literature and the culture, and then pointed out how this cultural fabric is uniform across India and Southeast Asia. And a culture which is universal in its appeal has shown to spread over quite a large region. And more importantly, this culture has added value to the lives of people who have been touched by it, and that is why so many people have embraced it. But unfortunately, some scholars are hell-bent upon inventing fault lines to divide people or deconstruct national identities and create conflicts, so which we need to counter by proper study and research. These are the references used for this presentation, and these are the people with whom I have discussed, and then these ideas have come out of those discussions. So I want to thank all of them, and thank you for this opportunity. Thanks again.
Vanakkam. In my presentation titled Vedic Studies in Tamil Nadu, I make a very brief study of the history of how Vedic studies have occurred in Tamil Nadu since ancient times, and I focus largely on the issues that the Vedas are not racist in their outlook, and that the Brahmins are blamed unnecessarily for too many ills of modern Indian society. I first look at the migrations in the ancient world and the demography that resulted from such migrations, and I focus on the issues of Varna and caste, how they may be related and whether they have been harmonized ever, and the oppression of Brahmins in modern writing. Both Western and Indian writers themselves seem to lay too much blame on the ills of modern society, on the outlook of the Brahmins. So I wish to examine if that is justified in a little more detail. When the Brahmanism or the need to convert others to Brahmanist fold is blamed, people seem to forget the innate appeal of Vedic thought. And as an outstanding example of a great scholar, I will briefly mention Shri Govinda Dikshita. When we look at the map, since ancient times, we know that there were trade routes across the land from South India up to Anatolia and Asia Minor. That we know, it was through Afghanistan, and there was trade movements from very ancient times. But when we look at peninsular India, we find that the sea acted more as a connection rather than a barrier. This is what historians quote. They say that right from prehistoric times, the islanders of the Andamans had dugouts and boats for dugong fishing, and it was not uncommon for people to land on the eastern shore of India. At the same time, the Tamil people and the Indians have also been traveling by boat to Malaysia and Indonesia. In fact, historians say that when we look at how the Sanskrit culture and the Sanskrit language moved from India to Greater India, it appears to have moved at the same time. There is not much time delay that they find between these two events. The earliest archaeological evidence that we have are from the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro excavations, and we know that further northeast there have been far more sites found along the Saraswati basin. And this culture, we know that there is Pashupati and Nandi shown in the artifacts and the paintings on the pottery. Now they find that they have found fire altars also, and we know that the latest writings associate the Harappan culture with the Vedic culture itself. And from carbon dating and from the archaeological artifacts, we know that this culture existed earlier to 2000 BC. It is a mature culture, and we find very similar artifacts in deep south near Madurai in Adichanallur, where burial sites have been found. So the carbon dating from the bones found are very accurate, and these have been dated to about 1000 BC to 500 BC. The interesting thing is that the items found in Adichanallur, very similar items to these have also been found in Syria and Gaza. These items are gold leaf mouthpieces and wooden kavadis used in Murugan worship. And these artifacts found in Syria and Gaza have been dated at 1200 and 1900 BC. So this is the archaeological evidence that we have for the earliest civilization in the Indian subcontinent. Looking at the literary evidence that we have, what we can understand of our ancient history from the literary evidence that we have, we know that the Tolkappiyam is the ancient Tamil grammar, and it does not mention anything about Jainism or Buddhism. So scholars believe that this must have been composed at around 400 BC, if not earlier. There are other evidences to point out that perhaps in the movement of the Aryan people or the people from North India coming into Tamilaham, it is believed that the Jains and Buddhists seem to have preceded the Hindu Aryans or the Vedic Aryans. By Aryan, I mean those who are familiar with the Vedic school of thought and that kind of a culture. I don't mean the Aryan as referring to the Western Aryan invasion theory. I use Aryan as a totally indigenous term, as many writers do. Now, the Sangam literature has many references to Puranic as well as Vedic culture. There is no two ways about that. All the gods of the Puranas are mentioned. Many gods of the Vedas are mentioned. The fire worship is mentioned. So we know that the Vedic thought has been absorbed into Tamil region from the Sangam period itself. While the four Varnas, the Chatur Varnya of the priestly class and the warrior class and the trader and artisan class and the laborers is a very Vedic concept, and the Vedas are blamed to have started this idea. But let us try to understand in what manner it has been mentioned when we do careful study of the literature. It's a very clear division based on occupation and their position in society. Now, this Chatur Varnya was not known in Tamil Nadu, But it is very clear, right from the earliest literature that we have from the Sangam period, at least 10 different groups of people are mentioned. Kurinjis, the Kuravar, Vellalar, Maravar, Pradavar, so many different groups are mentioned. And it's very clear that these names have, these identities of these groups come from primarily from their occupation and from the region from which they hailed. Now, slowly they became more firm in their identity or more well defined, but in their origins it is because of occupation and the kind of lifestyle, livelihood that centered around the occupation. Brahmins are also mentioned and their high position in society is mentioned. We have reason to believe that there was a more or less similar culture all over India. There's nothing to show otherwise. In every pocket, we seem to have had, from the earliest times, we seem to have had many pockets of human habitation in the Indian subcontinent, separated by dense forests, dense jungle, which was not easy to cross in those times. And the culture or the religion in every pocket seems to be a mixture of the Vedic thought, the Puranic lore and the local ethos. That's more or less a fact till recent times, except for modern communication, transport and communication. I quote from K.N. Shastri. He says, the ancient as well as modern worship of Shiva and Vishnu and Amba are forms of fireless worship, and they are utterly different from and opposed to the Vedic fire cults. Those Vedic gods, the etymology of whose names is not patent and who have no analogies in other Indo-Germanic dialects, must have been originally Dravidian deities. And as we can see from the Sangam literature, the Ramayana and Mahabharata are known, the Dasha Avataras of Vishnu are known, they talk of Shiva, they also talk of Agni and Vayu and the Maruts, and the Indra Vira is described in great detail, where the annual feast and celebrations in the temples or with or without temples, whether we associate them with the temple culture or independently, the Vedic ethos was very well known. And we know that the temple culture is very strong in South India, and you can see that the worship, the whole culture and the activities through the year in any temple are again a combination of the local ethos, the Puranic thought and the Vedic idea. So there is a very harmonious amalgamation right from early times, and whenever the kings patronized, it was not exclusively to the detriment of any other religion. It is more like, it is almost like the kings patronizing what the people want. History seems to present that picture. It's only Western writers who constantly talk of kings and the Brahmins imposing their view on society. Jainism and Buddhism were very strong in the early centuries in Tamil Nadu, and historians say that they seem to have declined after a few centuries, largely out of internal reasons. Jainism, they say, had very high standards and very high austere ascetic standards that were not easy for the common people to follow. Moreover, Jainism was not driven by a great zeal for converting others into their fold. Therefore, over the centuries, it became a slightly more restricted in its popularity. Now, Buddhism, on the other hand, the Mahayana Buddhism had very strong idol worship, temple culture, and a very ritualistic way of practical religion. They say after a few centuries with the Sangams, the monasteries and the viharas, and the Buddhist setup became very wealthy and very corrupt. And also they became known for their immoral practices, and therefore the people lost charm in the religion. And also, when people moved away from Brahmanism or Vedic religion, it was not because they had a problem with the Vedic thought, but because of perhaps excessive ritualism. And history books tell us that when the Brahmins saw people moving away from their fold, they reformed their own religion so that the people came right back into the fold. It was during the time of the Pallavas that the revival of Sanskrit and Hinduism took place on a large scale. Many of the Pallava inscriptions are bilingual in Sanskrit and Tamil. And this seems to have been a picture that has come to stay in Tamil Nadu, with every dynasty and all kingdoms patronizing art, literature and culture to a great extent. The Mahabalipuram temple is something Tamil Nadu is very proud of. It dates back to many centuries. And ancient Tamil classic Natrinai mentions that Brahmins moving in from other parts of India not only married local people, but also inducted the local people into priesthood. So we see a very clear amalgamation of people genetically or racially or culturally, and it is simply impossible to draw lines and to differentiate between different groups of people as saying somebody is originally belonging here and somebody has come in from outside. It is really a false picture and based on completely wrong notions with inadequate study of history. When we go back to the Vedic literature, when we analyze if the with study of the Vedas and the Vedic literature actually substantiate some of these modern writings or not. When we look more carefully, we find the Rigvedic society was characterized by the absence of sharp class divisions amongst its members, a feature usually found in early tribal societies. It was possible to have different ranks but not social classes. See, the Vedas and the Vedic texts only talk about the Chatur Varnya. Now, in Tamil Nadu on the other hand, we had different groups and these two have never really been reconciled. The myth of the Aryan invasion of India that had led to a lot of ideas which are outdated now. David Frawley traces the lineage of kings and dynasties in the history, in what accounts of history, ancient history that we have today, and he makes a study of the Puranas and the Vishnu Purana, I think, and he says, he traces how the different lineages, the kings, where did they descend from, because the Puranas tell us whom they descended from. And we talk of Yayati and Puru, and Yayati had 2 wives, and Devyani was the daughter of the preceptor, the Brahmin priest, while Sharmishta was the daughter of the Asura king. So she was a Rakshasi, if you would like to use that term. So he says, hence 3 of the original 5 Vedic peoples had Asuric blood in them through their mother. Puru, whose group ultimately predominated, had Asuric blood, whereas the Yadus, who were most criticized in Vedic and Puranic literature, had no Asuric blood, but rather that of the Brahmins. In this story, we see that both groups of people, thought by the Aryan invasion theory to be the invading Aryans and the indigenous people, had the same religion and ancestry. These 5 peoples were styled either Arya or Dasyu, which means something like good or bad, holy or unholy, according to their behavior. These designations can shift quickly. The descendant of an Aryan king can be called Dasyu or its equivalent, that is Rakshasa, Dasa, Asura, etc., if their behavior changes. Now, caste, where did this caste come from? In another place, the same writer says that when the Portuguese came into India and they had to describe Indian society and they found there were so many different groups, they used the word castas, and the word caste has come to stay. So it is only after the Europeans came into India that this concept of class and different caste and different groups of people who were born that way has really come in. Caste is the development of thousands of years from the association of many different social and other groups in a single cultural system. Early literature paid scant attention to it, but it is certain that caste did not originate from the 4 varnas, Bhasham. Caste offered security outside the family, providing for widows and orphans. See, caste is more an identity of a person culturally, the language, the customs, their dress, their celebrations and the way they live their lives, which goes back to what livelihood, which region they came from. It is more of the cuisine and so many other things. The endogamy came to be gradually preferred for economic and social reasons. Economic becomes a very large reason. The social reason is the comfort level. People, young people getting married were more comfortable in an ecosystem that they were familiar with. And particularly in Tamil Nadu, to date we can see that the politics are also driven by the economic need for loyalty or whatever you call it. Historians tell us that for almost every occupation, they had new groups moving in with various migrations. So the economy was not stable. The king's security systems were not stable. They could change. So the caste system afforded security outside the joint family concept. And the caste system is also credited with having helped preserve Indian culture because every group maintained their own customs and traditions. Now, Brahmins portrayed as the villains. I want to look at this, whether the Vedic literature, the Shastras, the ideology is actually racist in outlook, which is what everybody says, that you have the caste system, you have economic rivalry, you have a very strong caste consciousness, but the Brahmins are to blame. The priests are said by Western Indologists to have spread Brahmanism with missionary zeal. This is untenable and practically impossible. Wars were never fought to spread religion. In the large migrations of Aryan people, way back in the Vedic times itself, the migrations were largely due to two reasons. As soon as settlements became prosperous, we had battles for plunder and gain between different groups. The people who were moving more inward, they had chariots and horses, and the people further within the country had cattle and gold, which they coveted. So there were frequent battles. Now what happens after a battle? The society merges. The other reason for moving was not violent, they were not battles, but migrations. And particularly after the Saraswati river began drying up, the migrations became much larger. The priests followed other groups. The traders and priests would have been the minority. Most people would be artisans and traders. But the priests followed other groups in a natural search for livelihood. The main reason given for the priests' zeal is greed for fees. Frequently you find, why did the Brahmins impose their view, their world view, the yajna and the rituals? Because of the fees. Now I think writers who do this, who make these observations, should really provide a table of how every other major religion in the world sustains itself in order to give a balanced picture. The fees form only a small fraction of the total expense in a sacrifice. Now the Vedas censured the wealthy man who did not sacrifice to the gods, as it was a way of preventing gross disparity of wealth and a healthy way of avoiding jealousies and hatred in society. One of the favorite quotations of writers is the Rigvedic Sukta that speaks of the panis who are censured for not offering sacrifice to the gods. Now this is made to look like the Brahmins would censure everybody outside the fold who did not perform yajna or who did not believe in the Vedic rituals. But a more careful analysis, writers tell us that this was more directed towards individuals within their own society, because windfalls would happen frequently, either because of trade or good crops or battle and plunder. You'd suddenly have people who became very wealthy suddenly. And if they did not share their wealth through community feasts and giving gifts for everybody in the village, then there would be more disparity and people would be jealous. So this is a more sociological kind of exercise rather than a Brahminical exercise where the priests tried by hook or crook to take care of themselves. The Vedas censured the wealthy man who did not sacrifice to the gods, as it was a way of preventing disparity in wealth. The wealthy person was goaded to share his riches through feasts and gifts to the community, and priests constituted only a small fraction of the beneficiaries. When we look at Europe and when we look at Western Indology and Western writers who write on Indian tradition and sociological development over the millennia, let's try to understand the European background in medieval ages. We know that the common man was illiterate, kings were illiterate, and they could not read or write, and they could not formulate any kind of documents, and they passed their orders through seals and signet rings. And the church, the clergy were the only ones who were literate and who shared news. They knew what was happening in different countries of Europe, and they preferred to keep the laity in ignorance because it suited their way of functioning. This is well known, and we know that only after the invention of the printing press that the common people got to know a lot more information of what was going on, and until then the Pope would interfere in all kinds of economic and political decisions. And we know that Henry VIII converted to Catholicism. We know that after the printing press there was so much of rebellion against church practices that it led to the Reformation, which created the Protestant religion that broke away from Catholic religion, and then the church had to reform itself, which went on to the Counter-Reformation. And we know King Henry VIII in the 14th century, I think, converted from Catholicism to Protestantism when he wanted to divorce or behead his wives. Possibly this is the background, psychological background for the Western researcher who expects to see these power struggles in Indian culture also. It is quite natural that they expect this is to be the natural way that any society would behave. But that is not quite correct, because in our, it is not as if every king was a perfect king. But they were expected to be educated. From the earliest times, we know that most people were expected to be well educated, know the Shastras, know their responsibilities and limitations. Writers who censure the Brahmins, who talk of them as having a racist outlook or having creating so much of an elaborate religion simply based on the need for fees, seem to forget or overlook the innate appeal of Vedic thought. It is not based on any geographical location on the globe. It is not based on an individual prophet. It is not based on rewards in the afterlife. It is based on the harmonization of every living creature with the cosmos around us. It's quite natural that every refined king or every foreigner actually found a lot of sense in this and wanted this. And the respect shown for Brahmins is truly a reflection of respect the people had for the Vedas. The austerity, the discipline, the efforts that it takes to learn and preserve and propagate these texts, it was totally a reflection of the respect people had for the Vedas that gets translated as a respect for Brahmins. Today, when we denigrate Brahmins, when we put them down and we speak ill of all that was glorious and good in our culture, we are insulting ourselves. We are denigrating ourselves, and we are forgetting what a priority of any society should be. For since the dawn of history, we have had India as a knowledge-based society where intellectual and spiritual progress was regarded higher than material progress, and today perhaps we are forgetting that. The Vedas and the Upanishads speak of every individual's connection to the cosmos and remove superstition. The ethics and morals of Hinduism are based on universal values. The lack of strong intellectual support makes any society weak and vulnerable. Today we really need to know what our identity is, what our intellectual heritage is. We don't have to agree with anything. When you come into studying Indian philosophy, there is not one idea that is not there. So it is not dogmatic, it is not uniform. It gives you the freedom to think and to choose which you might prefer, and the same individual may have different views in different stages or different moods, and it is only education that really addresses these queries that the human spirit has. Which is why it had gone up to from Afghanistan, like Professor Nagaswamy says, from Balochistan to Indonesia. We had this culture that the people were familiar with the Vedic thought. And for India as a nation to have its education and identity, it should look beyond a professional training that can enable one to get a job. As the concluding portion of my presentation, I briefly look at one outstanding example of an individual who represented Vedic studies as recently as the 16th century in Tamil Nadu. Govinda Dikshita is said to have been born in Mysore state or Karnataka, and he went to Vijayanagar and he became close to the king there, Sevappa Nayaka. He moved with him when he went to Tanjavur, when he took over and set up his kingdom there. In fact, he was offered kingship, but Govinda Dikshita is supposed to have said, no, the Shastras have not ordained kingship as part of my duties, but I will use my abilities and education to help you as minister. He has served 3 Nayaka kings as minister. He was a great scholar, great social reformer and dispenser of justice. There are many stories where different groups went to him. We have the details of the dispute, and you can see what a fair judge or magistrate he was. He also founded the Raja Veda Pathashala at Kumbakonam, which is still running. In the last 450 years, it is still there. So that is one example. I'd like to conclude by saying that the citizens of Tamil Nadu and India, in fact, are like individual pieces in a crossword puzzle. We are connected in so many ways and we make sense in several ways. And that is very well represented by our column, where you have so many dots which are connected by so many swirls, intervening swirls. So a person may have so much in common with one other group, something else in common with yet another group, which is why our society, despite having so many different groups, since we have so many overlapping areas of commonness, it's very strong and very united. Thank you.